Hey, I'm Kevin Brown. I'm a community advocate in Southwest Mississippi. Today, we're at Gertrude's Garden. That's on the corner of Summer Street and St. Augustine. Gertrude's Garden started out with a personal journey. I was stationed in Minot, North Dakota back in 2015, and I used to visit family in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And after a couple of trips, one of my older relatives, she handed me some tax papers, and it was for some property down in Macomb, Mississippi. She said, "Here, you can take care of this now." You know what I mean? She didn't give me too much explanation. She said that it belonged to our grandmother. We're first cousins, she and I, and it's down in Macomb. That's all she said. You know, take up the taxes on it. So that was 2015. I retired from the Air Force after 21 years in 2017. I had no intent on moving to Macomb, but my mom lives near here, so I needed to be near her. So I chose Macomb out of three towns: Brookhaven, Macomb, and Natchez, because I knew I had ancestors from here. So in the process of moving here in 2018, I had a chance to come over and look at the property that my grandmother used to have. And her name was Gertrude Hughes. She was married to Emmett Hughes. Everybody around here called him Bud Hughes. And they used to have a store over here called Hughes Grocery Store on the lot that the garden is at now. But back then, like I said, in 18, when I came out and I looked at it, it's between Berglund Heights, which everybody around here calls the old projects, and this BJ's convenience store. So it didn't look like anything viable. There's a lot of foot traffic over here that I could do with it as far as the property. So one day I was out here and I saw some kids coming out of the housing complex, and they were coming out right into this space, this overgrown, pretty much a trash dump. There was appliances in there, mattresses, needles. It was a mini forest on top of that. So in my mind I started thinking, like, you know, what does that do to a kid's mind, that environment? And it was normal to them because it's been like that for decades, I'm sure. So that's when I got the concept of showing them the possibilities. So that's when I started saying, plant seeds of hope, to put something inspirational into the residential space. I used to call it a residential inspiration desert, but we flipped that, and now it's an inspiration center. We call it Platform for Dreams, because it's not just a garden. We do programming out here. We have three principles: engage, educate, and empower. So any type of programming that we can get to bring into this space, and that's basically individuals from around the community, whatever their talents and passions and skill sets are, we use that to incorporate into the programming. For example, Ms. Hornis from Alcorn Extension Office, she comes out once a month and teaches character counts with the kids. Kingdom Outreach Ministry, that's our lead programming organization, the 501c3. They come out and do art classes. Abounding Grace, Miss Felicia, she comes out and does jewelry making with the kids. Tomorrow, May 7th, we have the Spirit Riders Horse Club coming out to introduce them to that. For June, we have Amber Martin coming out doing yoga, introducing them to yoga. So any type of programming that we can introduce to the kids, basically to show them the different options in life other than what they see from day to day. Of course, positive adult modeling. Most of the kids that we work with, they come from good households. They have a good foundational base. So what we tell the parents is, we're not trying to take their place. We're just trying to build upon the foundation that they've already set and introduce them to new concepts. So I would say 60 to 70% of our programming takes place here at the garden. The rest of it is exposing them to different opportunities outside their residential space. And we even use the space to educate them. For example, this street, St. Augustine, we asked them, why is that name significant? Because they're growing up on it. Why is the street named St. Augustine? So we did some research and we came up with a curriculum for a walking tour. So we went over the history of St. Augustine, we went over to Summer Street. There's a storyboard out there from the Blues Trail marker. that highlights the history of Summer Street. We went down to the businesses. We went out to Noble's Cleaners, let them understand the significance of the history of Noble's Cleaners and the entrepreneurship side. And the owner was able to explain to him that it's a third generation business, from his grandfather down to his dad, down to him. And we wanted to make those connections, some of the barbershops we took them to, because that's an opportunity for employment for the older kids. Anybody can go in the shop and sweep up and make some change. Anybody can go to the cleaners and run people's laundry around and make some change, because the other options is to get into trouble out here trying to make money a different way. So that's a lot of the things that we do out here, and like I said, that's kind of like the journey that it took to get here and to maintain. We understand that we're not under-resourced. I used to use that term a lot too. We're underutilized. We have all the tools and resources through the people that are here to make things happen. Because if you want kids to do better and know better, you got to show them. You got to show them better. So we try to capitalize on everybody's talents that's right here in the community, and we supplement that with things that we're missing from outside the community, either through the school district, through these different organizations, the NAACP. I got Mr. White here. He's from Amite County, and he's out here. He's in the trenches with me. So everybody that comes out, we definitely appreciate that, and we need it to continue. Mr. White, you have anything you want to add?
Yes, I just want to say, Mr. Kevin, certainly it has been inspiring to me to see what's going on with the Gertrude's Garden, and certainly it is a positive model for the community, for the town, for the state, for the United States. Matter of fact, I'm excited. Whatever I can do to help in this garden, I want to put my hands to it, my mind, whatever I can do, because I'm very, very interested in what you're doing. It's one of the greatest things I've done in my life. I'm no baby. I'm 76 years old, but it's one of the greatest things that I have ever done. That's what you're doing now at Gertrude's Garden. Now, I want to thank you, Kevin. You have really been inspired. You're my cousin. You're my cousin. So
we found that along the journey. So.
Yes. You know, and you know, I really commend you for what you're doing. You know, it's awesome, and you know, I see a future that's going to be greater than anything that in my life. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. I wanted to backtrack a little bit and talk about that method that we use, that engage, educate, and empower. So the engagement piece is what we're doing right now. Basically, talking to people, not making it a process, because it's about people. So we're investing in people, right? Because that's our greatest resource in the city, is actually people. So that's what we do with the engagement piece, is reaching out and getting in the space. You can't get any closer into a residential space than the garden is. You know, any other organization has to go through a mediator, or they have to go door to door. You know what I mean? This space, geographically being located in the community, allows us to have that a real engagement piece and build relationships with people and understanding with people and understand their language. You know what I mean? Understand their culture. Cultural humility is a big deal. You can't come into a space with a certain mindset of how things are going to be, because we did try that. You know, I'm a military vet, so everything is a strategic planning. You know what I mean? You got a mission, vision, core values. You know, you got all this stuff lined up. But the best thing to do is come in and just evaluate and just listen. As far as says, listen, love, and learn, right? So that's what you do. You come in and you absorb and you learn. You have that culture of humility to understand your way isn't necessarily the best way for the environment that you're in. Because if you want to help to build the needs and be responsive to the needs of the people, you have to understand the people first. You know, understand to be understood. So that's the big engagement piece. That's the biggest piece. And then the education, you know, education is two-way. I've been around the world. I've been to 48 states, numerous countries, right? That's a information exchange with the kids and the youth that we deal with. There's military veterans walking around that you wouldn't even know, walking up and down these sidewalks, going in and outside of these abandoned homes. But that's a common thing that we can have a conversation about. And education is two-way. I learn from them, they learn from me. And then the empowerment piece. Ultimately, I don't live in this neighborhood. You know what I mean? I live on the other side of town. Ultimately, it's empowering the people that are already here, that are going to be here, that are invested in this community, their children, their moms, their grandparents, is to put them in a position to move forward. You know what I mean? With some of the principles that we learn from each other, and we kind of build from there. Public safety, that's a big thing that we focus on. We were able to get the slow children that play right there on that corner. And we installed it. The city ordered it, they gave us the hardware, Mr. White and 3 of the kids, the teenagers, they installed it. Because you always can't wait for somebody else to do something, right? But just work towards it, and most of the time that connection is made because you're making the effort. So pretty soon we're gonna have a crosswalk installed there, because the sidewalk ends about 200 feet from Summer Street. So you have to cross the street. And you have these cars parked along the road. It makes it a blind spot for drivers and pedestrians. So you just pop out there, the car slam on brakes, hopefully, or you're gonna get ran over. And in the past we've had fatalities from kids getting ran over. So let's learn from our mistakes. Any residential area that has kids should have those type of things. So it's just having those conversations with people and overcoming the obstacles that they may have to achieving those things. Everybody agrees it's a great idea, but how do we get there, right? And I always say, how do we get to yes? We don't stop, we just keep going. And sometimes it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So that's why we're always building in the community. We're having conversations, we're having meetings, we're having gatherings, we're networking with people to make sure that we're pouring all of our human capital resources into the community. Berglund Heights has been here since 1940, the old projects. There's numerous people in the city that started out here. People will drive by all the time and they'll stop and they'll say, I grew up in that apartment right there, whatever apartment number it was. I'm talking about city workers, teachers, athletes. Jared Dyson, the baseball player from the Kansas City Royals, that's why that street is named Dyson Drive. It splits the project. Jackie Butler played for the Spurs. He's from the old projects. Shahore's Ward, he was with Kansas City at the time, the Chiefs. He won a Super Bowl with them. He's from right up the street in Community Park. So there's all kind of people from here, and we always invite them back to be a part of the change. Because when they were growing up, there was things that they wished that they had. This is an opportunity to do it. Like, there's no such thing as a time machine, going back in time, but there is. Because you can look back and see yourself in these kids, you know what I mean? And what you wish you had, or the mentors you wish you had, the opportunities you wish you had. So that is our way of going back in time. It's called mentorship. So that's basically what we're doing out here. It kind of spans off into a whole lot of other projects. But like I said, Gertrude's Garden is a platform for dreams. We call it a garden. We have plants out here. But the major thing is to open up the opportunities and give the kids opportunities to continue to plant seeds of hope. So this artwork that's up behind BJ's store is basically the backdrop to Gertrude's Garden. Tim Cameron, he's a local artist here in Macomb. Timothy Cameron, he's pretty much Macomb's public artist. You can go all over town and you'll see his work in a lot of different places, especially businesses. Because right across the street I'm looking at Bullets, and he did that work right here. So we just had a conversation of what we wanted to accomplish, to have as the backdrop for Gertrude's Garden. And we wanted to make sure that we put meaningful things up there that involved the community and that it was positive, so that the kids could look at it and reflect and kind of discover some things that they hadn't discovered previously, even though they're growing up here. So it starts off with a lot of the garden pieces, highlighting Gertrude's Garden, You have the musical heritage. You know, Summer Street is a part of the Blues Trail, also known back in the day as the Chitlin Circuit. A lot of the black artists couldn't perform in integrated audiences, so they would perform on the other side of the tracks for the segregated audiences. Then they would come over to Summer Street to perform for the community here, and also for lodging. The DeSoto Hotel down there is where they used to lodge in. And that's everybody from B.B. King to Ray Charles to Duke Ellington. All these iconic musical legends have played on Summer Street, and this was a way for him to pay homage to the musical legacy of the area. And then as it goes along, you see the garden tools, the gloves, the watering can, the tunnel, the aqueduct that you come under the train tracks onto Summer Street. The garden, we kind of look at it as a way to break different forms of bondage. You know what I mean? It's a free space. You have opportunity and space to do things. So that's what that broken chain kind of represents through the work of the garden. You know, breaking generational curses, breaking mental bondage, because that's why we say a platform for dreams. Because anybody can come out here and do anything that they put their minds to, as long as it's positive. We're receptive to that. The magnifying glass, it signifies examination, symbolizes examination, to take a closer look at things. That goes up right to the historic Macomb symbols. We have some books up there, basically the information that you can tap into at places like the Black History Gallery, which is just, you know, one block west of here on Wall Street, 819 Wall Street. So we wanted to pay homage to that, the importance of education and knowledge and the wisdom that our community offers. You'll start to see some, of course, the Berglund Pride. You'll start to see some foot tracks, and you see the date, October 4th, 1961, with some footprints. We always want to remember the people that came before us and the struggles and the bravery that they exhibited in those times. That represents the Berglund Walkout, which is now over Higgins Elementary. Unity in the community, that's a phrase that came from one of our community leaders, Glenda Jordan. She works over at the radio station. That's a phrase that she coined and uses a lot out here when we do our programming with the youth. And of course, the power of the vote is right in there, because, you know, that's a fundamental right that we need to exercise. And it goes back to all the sacrifices people have made in the past so that we can even have that opportunity. Right above that is the Higgins High Lions. Again, when we had segregated schools, we had Berglund High, we had Higgins, was transformed to Higgins High. We wanted to highlight that legacy and remember it, especially with the mascot. Because Macomb High School now, the mascot is known as the Tigers. Previous to that, it was Higgins High Lions. So we wanted to capture that. And when a youth looks at that, it makes them think or ask questions. So it's an opportunity to have some dialogue about the history of the community. The Sankofa bird we have drawn up there signifies the bird feet is moving forward, but it's also, its neck is turned behind it to reach back for those things that we find valuable in our past, to make sure we bring that forward with us as well. So no matter how progressive we get moving forward, there's things that were valuable in our community and in our culture that we need to remember to bring along with us as we move forward. Then we get into the athletic space. We have Shavars Ward up there from right here in Berglund, a couple of streets up in Community Park. He won a Super Bowl championship with the Kansas City Chiefs. Right next to him, we got Jared Dyson. He won a World Series with the Kansas City Royals. Dyson Drive was named after him, which is just east of the Garden, one block. So you have a lot of history within a block of each other. That's why I call it personally, I call it the historic burglary district, because it's a really significant area of the city. You could argue a key to Macomb. So that's Jared Dyson. Next to him, you have Jackie Butler, a part of a championship with the San Antonio Spurs, a local product right here from Berglund Heights. And those are just a few of the people. If you start to dig further in history, you're going to find a lot more professional athletes, famous musicians, artists, authors. Just a plethora of talent. But we were able to capture what we could here on this wall through symbolism. Again, to show Berglund pride. That's the central theme, and to hopefully inspire the next generation of leaders, whether they be athletes or strong in academia or horticulture. I mean, because we have a training class out here with the garden growing things. So that's basically what Tim was able to bring out of that wall.
Kevin again,
Gertrude'S garden.
Just wanted to give a shout out to all the organizations that come together to make this dream a reality. So off the top of my head, I want to thank Abounding Grace Ministries, Kingdom Outreach Ministry, First Macomb, that's the Assembly of God over there on Hart. I want to thank the Black History Gallery, WAZA, and all the radio affiliates here in Macomb, Walker's Chapel. A lot of spiritual organizations come out and help us out. So those are some of the groups that I wanted to reach out to and give a special shout out to while we have the opportunity.